One thing you would like to change about education in Pakistan, what would that be?
Issue that I see and that I would like to really change is the mindset of the parents. The mindset has stagnated and in some cases become toxic to the extent that day in, day out, parents want to do and rote learn the same protocols that they perhaps went through themselves. Not understanding that the whole phenomena of education has changed. There's a very famous saying that children grow up but parents don't. So parents are stuck in their own ways. So what I did when I was in school, X, Y and Z has done, or what the society, I would follow the same path.
You're currently heading Trinity School. You offer the American High School, you offer IB, and you also offer the Classic Cambridge. Can you unpack these three systems for us?
So IB, for example, is extremely challenging compared to the three. The whole approach, the whole philosophy is very, very different. They perhaps have the same curriculum, but the methodology of being assessed, being taught is going to be extremely different in all three systems. IB is more integrated, it's more experiential learning, inquiry-based learning or outcome-based teaching. American high school is sort of similar, but a milder version of IB as I call it. A-levels, O-levels of course is a completely different science altogether. It's a distant cousin to these two. You crack the code, you do your past papers, it's grade-fixated. It's all about A stars.
IB is best suited for which kind of kids?
In IB what happens is that every child is different. Because the philosophy and approach is more progressive in IB, yet you have children with special needs doing IB that cannot survive in the Cambridge stream.
That's right.
So children with ADHD, dyslexia, dysphagia, even autism, depending on where they are on the spectrum, you have to have at least one child with special needs in IB. In some schools, they have a quota of 2 children per section. Philosophy of IB encourages you to take on children with special needs.
How does IB prepare students vis-a-vis the Cambridge students for college?
All these aspects are built into the curriculum. You got to have critical thinking because there's a criteria in your middle years, grade 6 onwards, where you are being judged, analyzed on your critical thinking only, on application of knowledge, on investigation. These are criteria, so you have to ace them. But with OA-level children, they have to, go back to the basics and fundamentals. They've never done research in their life. The other difference is academic honesty. This is one of the prime policies in IB. Right from the early years, you're taught what is plagiarism, how referencing, citation is extremely important. Such children do really well in the university because they're geared for that. Now, children who've not even heard about what plagiarism is, what citation is, because they've never done research themselves, will struggle.
How do IB students or American high school students or even Classic Cambridge students, how do their results translate into admissions for these colleges like Fatma Jinnah Medical College for girls or King Edward University?
They have an equivalence that they need to get from IBCC. Now they've become slightly more humane in terms of that. And yes, IB, high school, Cambridge graduates sit for their MD-CAT tests over the summers right after their exams. Then they also learn the same FSC curriculum that the children over there learn. But once you get into the medical college, you realize the skill sets that you develop through IB, through Cambridge, through high school has a far more advantageous position than what you perhaps learned in FSC. And with IB, we've seen that it's an immediate sort of advantage when you get into LUMS or Aga Khan. The minute they see IB, I know for a fact that there's a big advantage.
What about expat Pakistanis who want to send their children back home for an education in medicine or engineering? Do they need to go through the same equivalence?
No, the issue with overseas Pakistanis who want to come back is that they need to clear their equivalence of Islamiyat, Urdu and Pakistan studies for O-levels. Or because in IB now, Pakistan studies is part and parcel of integrated humanities. So your IH, if you do that in your middle years, that's seen as an equivalence of Pakistan studies. Urdu is now a part of the IB examination. You take an online Urdu exam. So a lot of children who want to study in Pakistan or want to have a backup, drop French and other languages and opt for Urdu as a language and acquisition. They only sit for Islamiyat O-levels or IGCSE. For high schoolers, American high school, they have to sit through all these 3 O-levels or IGCSEs in their grade 10 or grade 11 or even grade 12. If they don't have these, they will not have the local equivalent.
Hi, and welcome to ISOK, In Search of Knowledge. I'm Zahra Hidayatullah, and today I'm joined by a gentleman who's a big name in the field of education in Pakistan, perhaps the most known name also, since he's also a contributor for newspapers, Mr. Taimur Bandey. Taimur Bandey is currently serving as head of Trinity School in Lahore. Trinity School is new and unique in the sense that it offers 3 school programs in the same school. It offers the IB program, it offers the American High School and the Classic Cambridge. So any parent who is today at a crossroads of choosing which school program is right for their child, or is at the crossroads of local realities versus global dreams, should listen to us today. And let's continue this conversation with Taimur. Hi, Taimur.
Hi, how are you?
Taimur, we'll start with a big question here. If there is one thing you would like to change about education in Pakistan, what would that be?
There are lots of things I would like to change, but I think the biggest sort of issue that I see and that I would like to really change is the mindset of the parents, because it is not the children who are the problem, it is not school administrations who are a problem, not even the teachers. It's the parental mindset that unfortunately is the biggest problem, and it has so far affected both, I think, public and private sector to a large extent.
What do you mean by mindset? Is it that parents tend to follow trends, or is it perhaps the fact that parents want to choose a particular school over others for whatever reasons?
So the demography of parents, of course, varies. If you go across the length and breadth of this country, Karachi would have a very different mindset compared to Lahore. But I'm talking about overall. Overall, the issue is that, there's a very famous saying that children grow up, but parents don't. So parents are stuck in their own ways. So what I did when I was in school, what my neighbor does, or what my elder sister does, or what my cousin did is the trend that I will follow, or what X, Y, and Z has done, or what the society sort of holds as the top-notch institutions or top-notch systems of institutions, I would follow the same path. When we don't feel well, we go to a doctor. When there's a legal issue, we go to a lawyer. But unfortunately, we all think we're academics ourselves, that we don't need to go to an educationist and, get a technical perspective of what things are like.
That's right.
So here it's more of a, as you call it, bhed chal, that we like to follow and, go in as a herd mentality, sort of go in that direction. And in that, the problem is that the mindset has stagnated and in some cases become toxic to the extent that day in, day out, parents want to do and rote learn the same protocols that they perhaps went through themselves. Not understanding that the whole phenomena of education has changed, that children are going to enter a very different world than what they did. And the professions are not going to be the same as they were growing up with. So parental mindset, change has become the biggest challenge now to, make them realize that aapka zamana ab nahi hai, it's a different trend, it's a different zamana, it's a different mindset. To accept this reality.
So you're currently heading Trinity School. Like I mentioned in the introduction, that it offers 3 programs at the same time, simultaneously. So the students have a range to choose from. You offer the American High School, you offer IB, and you also offer the Classic Cambridge. Which one would you personally prefer? And can you actually, before we get into that, can you unpack these 3 systems for us and what they entail?
So at Trinity, what happens is from earliest to grade 8, it is just IB. After grade 8, you have an option to either continue in IB or move into grade 9 IGCSE A-level stream or move into the American high school system in grade 9. So that decision is dependent not just on your own wishes but on your own capacity. So IB, for example, is extremely challenging compared to the 3. Not every child is geared for IB. There are a lot of demands as far as IB is concerned. The whole approach, the whole philosophy is very, very different. They perhaps have the same curriculum, what you do in A-levels biology, high school biology and IB-DP biology, but the methodology of being assessed, being taught is going to be extremely different in all 3 systems. So IB is more, in the sense it's more integrated, it's more experiential learning, it's more inquiry-based learning or outcome-based teaching. The whole philosophy relies on that. American high school is sort of similar, but a milder version of IB, as I call it. So children who are struggling in IB, we refer them to the high school system because clearing APs is not as challenging as clearing your IB diploma is. To give you a small example, the local equivalence for AP is perhaps the easiest APs are marked out of 5. So if I leave a blank paper, I'll still get a 1. And you get 2 1s and you get the equivalence of the American high school.
Oh.
So it is perhaps the simplest of the... A-levels, O-levels, of course, is a completely different science altogether. And it's a distant cousin to these two, where there is, unfortunately now, more focus on rote learning, copy-pasting the notes of the teachers. You crack the code, you do your past papers. It's grade-fixated. It's all about A stars. It's nothing else. So you don't study for your 3 years. You study in the last 5-6 months of your O-levels. You
That's
get the
right.
grade. You don't study for 2 years. You study in the last 3-4 months. You get your A stars and A levels. You go home and you sit privately, go through tuitions online, and you get grades now. You, if you're bright enough, do past papers on your own, don't go for tuitions, and crack the code through that, and you get the grade. So it's become that simplistic in that sense, yet challenging also in some cases.
Sorry, what are the technical aspects? Because O levels and then you have to do A levels, so that's 13 years of schooling.
Yes.
And then IB is how many years
12
of schooling?
years, high school is 12 years.
So you save a year if you don't adopt
Yes,
or
yes.
you don't go for the...
Yes. Unless the school itself offers a 2-year IGCSE or a 2-year O-level program, not a 3-year traditional program, then they're all at par. This is something we want to do in Trinity, for example, not offer the 3-year O-level stream, offer the 2-year IGCSE stream. So parents have an equal sort of, otherwise, like you pointed out, it's a sort of disadvantage because they spend an extra year. From the school's point of view, it's extra revenue for another year. But from a child's point of view, it's an extra year in schooling.
So these three programs are very different from each other in terms of the ideology and approach that they have. IB is best suited for which kind of kids? You did answer that briefly, but can we go into detail? And like you said, O levels and A levels is more rote-based learning, so kids who are good at memorizing, they can adopt for those. And would you still recommend it?
So, I'm hosting all 3 programs, so I can't pick and select, but giving you an educationist perspective, because the philosophy and approach is more progressive in IB, because although A-levels and O-levels are taught very differently outside Pakistan. If you go to the UK, if you go to Dubai, if you go to other parts of the world, it is at par with what we do in IB, for example. Unfortunately, it is in Pakistan where it has become more sort of aligned to the FSC metric stream now because of the tuition culture and the grade fixation and the rote learning culture there. In IB, what happens is that every child is different. So, for example, like I said, not every child is geared for IB in itself because of the challenges it entails. Yet you have children with special needs doing IB that cannot survive in the Cambridge stream.
That's right.
So children with ADHD, dyslexia, dysprasia, even autism, depending on where they are on the spectrum, you have to have at least one child with special needs in IB. And from case to case...
In each class?
In each section. In some schools, they have a quota of 2 children per section. So, because the demand is fairly high. And the way in which IB tries to integrate these children, of course, some do it better, more professionally, but some do it just to represent the fact that they're inclusive. And there are schools who deny access to such schools, even though they're IB schools, based on one pretext or another. So a school is not forced to take on because you have to look at your own resources and what you can take charge of. But the inclusivity philosophy of IB encourages you to take on children with special needs. So there are those who are also there in IB who cannot survive in the regular stream. These children can also survive in the high school system because high school also has a space and opportunity for such children. I think children, like for example, the manner in which we decide is that the brightest of the lot, we encourage them to go for IB. Even the mid-tier ones that are thinking minds that are getting what you'll call
Sorry,
equivalence.
what do you call the brightest? Who are the brightest?
The top-notch students who are performing extremely well till grade 8, who are, acing different subjects and are showing a lot of promising skill sets. So because earliest to grade 8 we have IB, so their research skills, presentation skills, there is no rote learning. They will stand up there and talk about their exhibition. Nothing is written out for them to read out in front of parents.
It's more critical thinking.
It's more critical thinking. It's more hands-on learning. So those children are geared and they ace that, some of them. They thrive really well in that. So you realize that this child will not be able to survive in the Cambridge stream where he will not be asked or allowed to ask questions, or she will not be able to give her point of view because the teacher's point of view prevails out there.
That's right.
So those children then do really well, and we encourage them. But then there are those who are very good with reproducing knowledge. So knowledge testing is the criteria that they ace. So while there is a small criteria of knowledge testing in IB in itself, but they do much better in the Cambridge stream.
So of late, it has not even of late, it's been quite a few years now, it has been noticed that ONA levels have set up a major industry around, the schools have a major industry around them, which is thriving on tuitions. And, it is believed by parents that if they don't send their child out there to the right tuition, the child won't ace the exam. And the child also feels that in order to attempt, not even ace the exam, but even in order to attempt the exam, they need tuitions, they need help. How does IB prepare students vis-a-vis the Cambridge students for college, for time management, for critical thinking?
So all these aspects are built into the curriculum as far as IB is concerned. So you got to have critical thinking because there's a criteria in your middle years, grade 6 onwards, where you are being judged, analyzed on your critical thinking only, on application of knowledge, on investigation. These are criteria, so you have to ace them, amongst other skills that I mentioned like presentation and research, etc. Such children obviously thrive really well in universities, and that's the feedback we've gotten from a few top-notch Pakistani universities, where they feel that these children coming with IB backgrounds, for example at LUMS, they are naturally gifted in terms of research and presentation, which is the cornerstone of a university education.
Exactly.
But with OA level children, they have to, go back to the basics and fundamentals. They've never done research in their life.
That's right.
Unless they're a debater in a school and part of the debating team, they've not done presentations at all. Or even if they've done presentations, those are very surface level presentations. There's no in-depth analysis. Nobody's questioned them on those. The other difference is academic honesty. This is one of the prime policies in IB. Right from the early years till grade 12, you're taught amongst 5 academic honesty policies. So you're taught what is plagiarism, how referencing, citation is extremely important. There are checks and balances which catches Turnitin के नाम से app है which checks how much a work is plagiarized, whether it's ChatGPT, etc., etc. Such children do really well in the university because they're geared for that. Now children who've not even heard about what plagiarism is, what citation is, because they've never done research themselves, will struggle. And that's the cases that we now see from universities coming out, and most of them, if not all, are coming from the Cambridge stream that are caught cheating.
Yes.
So within and outside Pakistan, unfortunately.
How unfortunate.
It's really unfortunate.
So do we have enough trained teachers for IB in American high school that can do justice to the program here in Pakistan?
That's a good question, because if I was a parent, that would be my next thing. Fine, the system is very impressive, but then how do you execute it? So what has happened is that now, we are in 2025, so we've seen IB market mature. If you had asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have said, Zara, it's just started. So we have fairly new teachers, coordinators, and all of that. But now there are teachers and coordinators who spend 10, 12, 13 years, 15 years in the field, in the industry. And they're doing really well. So it's a combination. We have some teachers who transitioned from Cambridge into IB or high school, who struggled. It was difficult to convince them to break the sort of mindset and move in a different teaching mold.
Sorry, may I interrupt and also ask how, once they move from the Cambridge to the IB program, how do they learn exam preparation? And
so they have to go through workshops. IB, the compulsory workshop that they have to do. Even the head of school has to go through workshops. Everyone. So in that workshop, they're obviously told what all to do, what all to unlearn. But then there are ongoing workshops, observations within an IB school, which I feel are more important. And inside the classroom is where they actually learn the ropes. Because वो workshop तो 4 हफ्ते की होती है, and it's more of a tick. You sleep through that workshop and I become the most active one. Both of us get the same certificate. Yet the learning and the skill sets of the children tell you how much of the teacher has picked up on the IB philosophy, and they evolve over time. That, and then apart from the Cambridge ones who transitioned, we had fresh graduates who I said are not tampered with or played around with. They were the ones who were very easily molded into the IB philosophy because they had not seen anything else.
That's right. They didn't have to unlearn anything.
They didn't have to unlearn anything. And they were coming with university, fresh graduates, fresh skill sets. They've learned through technology themselves. They were more of role models also than just teachers. So they would come from LUMS or they would come studying abroad. They would bring a very different approach to the whole classroom. So they were the easier ones to work with. But I must add over here, this is something I miss out in most interviews, is that we've also had a string of teachers that don't come from the traditionally top-notch Pakistani universities, that may come from even places like Punjab University or these local second-tier universities that you may call it, but are so talented that they've grasped and evolved themselves so much that they're now amongst the best over here. So all your leading coordinators are not LUMS graduates. They're graduates of ordinary schools and universities, yet have picked up the philosophy so well that they are now acing it, and they are now much better than so-called traditional.
How wonderful, because then you have a whole career path opening up for these, and you are not as an IB advisor. I would not even just call you head of Trinity, because you've helped set up IB schools all across Pakistan. So how heartening to hear from you that you would pick up anyone who has potential and the talent to.
I'll give you a small example and a bigger example of that. Faisalabad. There's an IB school there. There are now more IB schools coming up over there, but there's an IB school that started years ago over there.
Really?
Almost more than a decade ago, actually. And they started primary years, middle years, and IB diploma. And it is all locally cultivated human resource that they're using. And it was fascinating when I used to go there and I used to look at those women and I used to talk to the owner, the principal, that, it was your initiative. You could have set up a textile mill on this land. You could have set up a hotel, a mall. You decided to go into education and continue his mother's legacy. And look what you've not just given to the city in terms of the students coming out, but the women, especially because the women workforce is higher. The opportunity to come and excel in this very challenging and demanding academic stream, not only enhance their own skills, but also show to the world that they were more talented. Except if this opportunity wasn't there, they'd be sitting at home or going to the regular school and teaching run-of-the-mill lesson plans, etc. And here they were challenging themselves despite their language issues, mathematical concerns, exposure. You can call all those things that you see in a smaller city. Yet they're delivering IB over there.
And are they doing it successfully?
Yeah. Pretty successfully. I would not judge them just on their results, which are improving every year, but the university placements now that they have, how these children are now going to local universities in Faisalabad and outside Faisalabad, that are and it has encouraged other schools to move into IB within Faisalabad. So who could have thought? Multan has an IB school that is now offering primary years IB diploma and middle years program. So it's very heartening to see it. In corners of Gilgit, we have a primary year school now, run by So, it's Sanjan Nagar over here in Lahore. It's Bela Jameel, who's a fantastic educationist, and I have a lot of respect for her. You should go and see how those girls are learning.
And they're not they're not from very privileged backgrounds.
No, not at all. So, and the teachers are not from privileged background, yet the philosophy is where, you will see that, molded across the school. So that's the beauty of this system, that it can take any shape, size, it can go into any corner of the country, it can acclimatize itself into the local traditions and demands, and yet it can flourish and give you the same kind of philosophy
outcome and results.
Exactly.
How wonderful. Taimur, there's also this growing concern with all these alternative programs coming up, that students who want to pursue medicine and engineering in Pakistan, they tend to adopt for the metric system and go for the traditional Pakistani metric system, because then their scores are ranked and they get placements in government medical colleges here. How do IB students or American high school students or even classic Cambridge students, how do their results translate into admissions for these colleges like Fatma Jinnah Medical College for girls, or King Edward University for, medicine?
So they have an equivalence that they need to get from IBCC, an equivalence that has also evolved over the last few years. It used to be ridiculous at one point of time, much more ridiculous for IB because they had no idea what IB was.
That's right.
So it was further demarcated for IB than it was for Cambridge at one point. Now they're at par. Now they've become slightly more humane in terms of that. And yes, IB, high school, Cambridge graduates sit for their MD-CAT tests over the summers right after their exams. And then they also learn the same FSC curriculum that the children over there learn. But I think it is the MD-CAT which is more FSC based. But once you get into the medical college, you realize the skill sets that you develop through IB, through Cambridge, through high school has a far more advantageous position than what you perhaps learned in FSC, because FSC was also more about knowledge testing, more about reproduction of knowledge and data and all of that. The marking standards are questionable, etc. But these marking standards are global. They are internationally sort of acclaimed. One different task, for example, engineering students in Pakistan need to do chemistry in their APs, in their high school or A levels, in order to qualify for engineering schools in Pakistan, apart from physics and mathematics. You apply abroad, you don't need chemistry. You only have to do physics and mathematics. So chemistry is a local requirement. So these children have that added pressure. But I think at the end of the day, when you're sitting in a classroom full of FSC graduates, or you realize the skill sets that you bring, and I'm not talking about language skills here. I'm talking about thinking skills that are critical skills that are more of an advantage. And with IB, we've seen that it's an immediate sort of adaptation and advantage when you get into LUMS or Akhan. The minute they see IB, I know for a fact that there's a big advantage to you in terms of that.
So, Taimur, what about expat Pakistanis who want to send their children back home for an education in medicine or engineering? Their high school diplomas and their IB program certifications, do they need to go through the same equivalence?
No, the issue with overseas Pakistanis who want to come back is that they need to clear their equivalence of Islamiyat, Urdu and Pakistan studies.
For O levels?
For O levels. Or because in IB now, Pakistan studies is part and parcel of integrated humanities. So your IH, if you do that in your middle years, that's seen as an equivalence of Pakistan studies. Urdu is now a part of the IB examination. You take an online Urdu exam. So a lot of children who want to study in Pakistan or want to have a backup, drop French and other languages and opt for Urdu as a language and acquisition.
Okay.
They are clear. So what they do is they only sit for Islamiyat O levels or IGCSE in their grade 9s or 10s whenever they want to sit. For high schoolers, American high school, they have to sit through all these 3 O levels or IGCSEs in their grade 10 or grade 11 or even grade 12 if they want the local equivalence over here. We know it's compulsory in your Cambridge stream. Children, all of them go through Islamiyat, Urdu, Pakistan studies. So children coming from outside may have the IB diploma, may have the American high school diploma, perhaps even the OA level stream certifications. But if they don't have these, they will not have the local equivalent.
Even with the foreign passports, so if they have dual nationality, but they want to study in Pakistan, they can't, there's no way around
foreign
it?
nationals have a quota. They have a quota, but Pakistani nationals would have issues, that they would need that local clearance as far as these are concerned.
So
unless you get into University of London or an external program.
Okay.
The external programs don't demand Islamiyat, Urdu, Pak studies.
Okay.
So you can get directly into the
So universities and colleges which are affiliated internationally, they will not need these subjects. Okay. So that is clarification. And since we're talking about the technical aspects of it, so the fee structure is also different for foreign nationals than sitting for colleges in Pakistan.
No, it really depends actually. There's no uniform policy on that.
Okay.
Children coming from abroad, in some universities may charge them differently, but there's not, generally speaking, there's no discrimination as far as the fee structure is concerned.
So these are things that one generally asks or seeks knowledge from a college counselor or a guidance counselor in a school. And with so many jobs and industries in a state of flux also because of AI, do you feel there are enough guidance counselors in schools? I feel like that's such a missing component in most schools across Pakistan. What do you have to say about that?
I agree, but I think schools have woken up to 2 very important aspects. One, of course, is what you raised, counseling, and I'll talk about that in depth because how counseling is completely evolved, and I'll tell you what we are doing at Trinity, and I hope other schools get to follow that. But the other aspect that has become very important is mental health. Realizing the fact that you need a mental health counselor on campus, that you need a therapist on campus, where children should be free to go to and talk to him or her and express themselves. And that counselor then keeps a record and does not share the minutes of their meetings with anyone, including the principal, unless there is something violently involved or a child is suicidal, etc. They keep it to themselves and then counsel those children. So that's another very important wake-up call that schools have realized over the last few years. Counseling, Zahra, has become extremely important. And this is what I have now worked on again in my school and something that I want to share it with others as well. If you generally go to the counselors, by and large, they talk about university placements. So they will talk to you, say, in A1, first year of A-levels, or they'll talk to you in grade 11 high school or IB diploma first year. But I think this has to be taken back. And there are a couple of counselors who do that. So the concept of profile building, for example, it starts in your, say, grade 8. And you start exposing the children in grade 6. So we've done a compulsory summer internship program here at Trinity, where children will go from 2 weeks to 4 weeks of internships in a wide variety of fields. And these are, most of them are online, because you cannot take responsibility of a child going into an office where you cannot control the environment. Now, here we're dealing with individuals. So an architect would give a project to this child, a lawyer, a legal firm, or an actor, scriptwriter, any industry that you think of. And we will keep a profile. So in grade 8 and 9 is where they will experiment. Grade 9 and 10. When I say grade 8 and 9, 8 going into 9, 9 going into 10, 10 going to 11, and 11 going to 12. The final 2 years are a little more narrow, because 2 years of experimentation, they would have some idea. Even if they have no idea, that's still not bad at all. Then these are those hard-end interns. Then there are those soft internships, like fundraising, old home, charity drive, because not every child can get into these hard internships.
We would call them community services?
Community services also have a hard end to it. It's you write a research report, you not only go there, you actually find solutions to issues, etc. So we have 2 tiers in each of them. Now what the teachers need to do in order for a child to be prepared and go into these regular annual internships for the next 4 years is to provide them some basic skill sets. So the architect would tell us, okay, I will take this grade 8 child going to design, but provided he or she knows A, B, C.
Of course.
The legal firm would expect them to know certain skill
terminology.
So that's where the teachers come in.
Okay.
This is where the curriculum is then molded into the fact that they're given those fundamental skills, depending which grade they are, and then which industry they're targeting. So I can give this internee to a scriptwriter, but then if the child doesn't even know how to research,
That's
if
right.
the child doesn't even know how to tabulate that research or pick up a component of that research, then he or she is of no use in that. So structured internships which automatically build profile for the child. And profile, to be very honest, a lot of counselors feel that it ends up helping getting into good university. For me, university, no university, it's kamal ka exposure. That this young child starts getting right from the age where they start grade 9. So imagine the final product that comes your way, fully exposed, and the kind of skill sets that may have developed, and university automatically admission ho bhi jata hai. It's that focus which I feel is more important.
Right. So now another thing, today's reality is that AI is not the future anymore. It's the present. How many schools in Pakistan are equipped with AI skills training? Are you doing this at Trinity?
So we have made a K-8 compulsory AI subject, which is taught by an expert. The curriculum is developed by an expert. It is going to be executed across the board from prep to grade 8. The child will be assessed. There will be a proper report. We're the first school that are doing that.
Amazing.
And it is going to be an evolving document. It is not going to be something that stagnates, because AI is constantly evolving. And the idea behind these classes is not to make them aware what AI is, but how to use AI tools to sub-create, for example. Similarly, in the middle school, moving away from AI, just to give you a perspective, we've introduced compulsory lessons of crypto, Bitcoin, Web 3.0.
That was my next question.
Fintech. So that's compulsory classroom from grade 6 to 8. 8 being the highest IB right now because it's organically growing. These are compulsory classrooms taught by experts, and again, curriculum made by experts, because I'm not an expert, my teacher isn't an expert, so we had to outsource that. So much so that Pakistan Crypto Council reached out to us. And they said, can you share the curriculum? Because we might like to replicate that and take it in Urdu, for example, and take it to public schools. So we lent them our support and said, you are the expert. You tell us if we are doing something wrong. So we had to invest in this. And these are extra resources I'm talking. It's not that my physics teacher is teaching AI or my economics teacher is teaching Bitcoin and crypto. We have experts in the field who've been hired, who are coming and teaching children out there.
Wonderful. That is really heartening to hear. And maybe parents would like to look into Trinity for this particular reason. Expanding on the broader question of, this is highly specialized what you're talking about, but even the broader question of digital skill sets and developing those skill sets and STEM training. How many schools in Pakistan are still treating it as an extracurricular, or are they taking it really seriously now? Have they woken up to that reality?
It's a mixed bag. So some are very tuned to the traditional subjects and they feel this can be an extra after-school club or they may market it that they're doing it, but they're not really doing it. So they're calling it STEM. But if you go into the specifics and integrities, and if you're technically sound, you realize there's no STEM here. It's all hearsay and it's all marketing gimmickries. But then there are those schools who've woken up to it, but unfortunately are bound so tightly because of their timetables, and this is where the Cambridge schools come in, that they don't have the space. So even if I want to introduce AI or Bitcoins and crypto knowledge in a Cambridge stream, it'll be very hard for me to dig out classes for them out there, because they are so packed up with their daily timetables, where I'm sure parents will create a ruckus if you say that English language ki maine class kam kar diya aur math ki class nahi hogi, you'll have this instead. And children have that attitude. What's the reason with there's no exam? If you go beyond your curriculum, so say you integrate this in the economics class, at least those children will learn, not the bio and physics. They'll turn around and say it's not part of the curriculum, so why are you teaching us? Or they'll go blank. They will not take notes and they'll switch off. Because the idea is that eventually we will not have this in our examination, so why are we even reading or learning about it? There will be very few of those curious minds who will take keen interest or catch the teacher beyond the classroom and say, you know what, I'm interested in this. So unfortunately, Cambridge may a problem, and by and large schools Cambridge hai, so they are not looking at it from that perspective. So kuch kar rahe hain as a club, I think even that's a very healthy start. You have those talks, you have one-off sessions where this expert will come and speak to you. I think these are some drops of hope. But by and large, the attitude is...
It needs to be more wholly integrated.
Exactly. And parents need to be brought on board, because like you said, it's here. It's not the future anymore.
No.
And it's a reality.
That's right.
So we have to wake up to this reality. If we want to make our children global citizens, they have to wake up to this, because look what they're competing with next door in the region.
Of course.
And you realize they're light years ahead.
Light years ahead. I mean, they've already made it to the moon.
Yeah.
That's right. So Taimur, given your vast experience in education, and you're also an advisor to a leading edtech company, what would you say is the future of industry? Which industry is now going to be the future in Pakistan, and what kind of careers should students be looking at?
I think it's a very pertinent question. I think the race for degrees, qualifications is now over. You look at universities outside, there is now discussion in the West.
It's obsolete, more or less.
Need these 4-year degrees and pay so much money to these high-flying universities. Look at what Microsoft is now asking to do. They are saying that you drop out of school, we will tell you what skill to need, we will train you, and you come and work for us. To skip those 4 years of miseries. Here in Pakistan, not every child can afford a private sector university education, or even afford to go into or doesn't even have a good university around them. So instead of wasting themselves, because not everyone can get into Lums or Aga Khan, what they do is they now start working on skills. Look at the startup population of Pakistan. Look at the IT export growing in Pakistan despite all that we know about our economy, politics, etc.
That's right.
So where are these people coming? They're not all graduates of Silicon Valley or top-notch universities of Pakistan. These are people we see every day around us. So I feel that is the hope, where the focus has to come on skills, not on degrees and qualifications. The entire academic structure needs to be remodeled, taking into account this technology. We need to teach children how to start a startup, for example. Now, podcasts like these, for example, or TikTok videos, or Instagram links and talks and discussions, because there's a huge market out there. While working for this EdTech, we got the data, and the smartphone data in Pakistan is phenomenal. You'll be shocked that the length and breadth of this country, where all access of this smartphone has gone into, especially in Punjab and Sindh. So that awareness is what I saw through the EdTech facility, where these very keen learners sitting in remote areas of the country were preparing for MDCAT, were preparing for CSS, ACCA, you name it. And they didn't have to come to Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad to prepare for their civil service examinations, etc. So sitting in Kohat, in the comfort of their homes in Badin, in Quetta, they were preparing through the EdTech facility.
How wonderful.
So it was just amazing to see. And it goes cross-border. Tutors in Pakistan have given up tuition centers because they have tuitions from all over the world.
That's right.
Children are learning from them here. They're
Yes.
charging in dollars.
Yes, that's right. So, drawing to the end of the show, what is that one primary concern you think parents should have when choosing the right school for their children? Should it be university goals? Should it be what kind of program the school is teaching? Should it be more family values and financial reality based? What kind of concern should they have?
Zahra, I think this is the best question you asked me, because this is very close to my heart, and this is something which is very painfully, I think, ignored. I think two aspects. For university, I would say pick up the program first and then the university. What we do is the other way around.
That's
we pick
right.
up the university
That's
and then
right.
look at programs.
Yes.
Now, why do we need to look at the programs first? Because we need to look at the aptitude of the child. What we don't do is we don't talk to the child, we talk to the parent. We should talk to the parent when it comes to finances. But we should not talk to the parent when it comes to the program. The child has to go through a diagnostic. The child has to go through an assessment. The child needs to be spoken to, that what are your likes and dislikes? Where do you think your strengths and weaknesses lie? Not what the family has been doing or what the father wants his son or daughter to do or what the mother's ambition for the children were when they were born. It is all about the child. And it is the child that we don't speak to. So we need to empower the child. We need to start empowering them right from when they enter their middle school, so that by the time they reach at the end of their high school, they know, or even if they don't know exactly what degree they want to know, at least they can identify their own skill sets and interests and aptitudes. So I think that element is completely missing. And then everything else is secondary. So the child will nudge you in the direction he or she wants to. You then set out looking for a program. That's when the budgets come in. You then build a profile in that direction. So, for example, if you want to go to Columbia, there are certain requirements. You need to have a research paper published out there. Now, not many people know that. So, you do your complete research based on that. Now, these are those lucky ones who are either keen on going to Columbia or are sure about a program that they want to target. But there's a vast majority of those who don't know. At the end of their high school, don't know what to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, they go for generic degrees. They can specialize in their masters because the undergrad will tell them where their actual interests lie.
That's right.
So the whole approach has to change. It has to start from the child first. Unfortunately, it ends with the child telling them where they would be going.
That's right. So, Taimur, last question. If you were to be able to design a dream school right from the scratch, what would it look like? And what is the one thing or a few things you would like to leave out?
I think I am living through a dream school myself. I didn't take up this position if I wasn't given the power to do whatever I have to do. And all these things I mentioned, because I had the power to bring them on, is why I took up this challenge of converting this school into what it is today. I think what I would do away with in a dream school is cut out the curriculum, cut out the content in the early years. Right now, the children going into KG, prep, kindergarten are given so much of content, so much of ratta, so much of things to learn, either for an entrance test of a prospective elite school, or just because they can parrot in front of the cousins and the family that, look, he or she knows ABC, can read, write, sing, dance, do whatever. And then we expect the child to become creative later on in life. I would convert that. I would not teach ABCs and 1, 2, 3s in a dream school of my choice, say even till grade 2. But till grade 2, they'll do their experiential learning. They'll recognize patterns of nature. They will recognize how does a flower grow. They will do kitchen garden activities. They will play with astronomical, identities. And then I would expose them to ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, perhaps in grade 2 or at the end of grade 2. Because what happens is that these children, because they do the other way around, and then we criticize the child is not creative. The child is not thinker, is not critical minded. Because the prime age, what were you doing with that child? Making the child rote learn. अब ये पूरा sentence लिखो, इसको याद करो, ये रट्टा लगेगा.
That's right.
So you're asking the child to conform. Schools
for the school program,
everything has to be conforming. And any question raised, you see that as rebellion. So you shut it down. That you nipped it in the bud, not realizing you nipped a questioning mind in the bud. So the child will never question anymore. That curious mind, that naughty mind is very healthy, especially for the girls, because we really box them away. It's very important for them to be a little rebellious, a little out there, a little challenging, and saying, you know what, perhaps I could do it differently.
I wish I was in your school and I was a student and we had a principal like you. So, Taimur, thank you for joining us today for this journey of discovery with you on what's going on in the education sector and for providing your valuable insight to us. The world is changing so fast. So if you're a parent standing at the crossroads of which program is the best fit for your child, the IB, the American High School, or the Cambridge, I hope you found this conversation valuable. Please like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram. Our handle is @ISOK Podcast. Until next time, in search of knowledge. Thank you, Taimur, for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.